Hi, I just wanted to make a few comments before you have your reading week, where I imagine you'll be working on your essays or maybe you'll be off skiing somewhere. I don't know, now that we're actually having winter. Okay, first of all, the discussion just passed. There are 3 points I wanted to make where some of you didn't perhaps do as well as you would have liked, and these are the three main reasons why some of you didn't do as well. Firstly, whenever you're answering in a discussion or any kind of answer on an exam or writing an essay, you have to refer to specific evidence when you're making your points. For example, if you're talking about the separation of church and state in the United States, you would have to refer to the First Amendment to the Constitution, which does that in an official sense, which doesn't happen in Canada, for example, or in England especially. And then you might also refer to the irony that American politicians have to be seen to be publicly religious, that you have somebody like President Obama will say, "God bless America," in public. Words that, a type of words that you would never hear, for example, a Canadian Prime Minister saying. You'd never hear a Canadian Prime Minister saying, "God bless Canada," and referring to God and the Christian God on a regular basis. Or in England, which has a state church, when Tony Blair was Prime Minister, he never mentioned religion. But after that, he's become quite a preacher almost, arguing with atheists and preaching Christianity. But while he was in office, he never mentioned Christianity. That's something that you need to mention specific bits of evidence that support or underline what you're trying to say. A second thing that seemed obvious, but some of you missed it, is that in order to answer the question well in this second discussion, you had to listen to the podcast and you had to grapple with the ideas that William Cavanaugh presented in that podcast. Some of you didn't mention the podcast at all, and that's where you had a big problem in your marks there. And a final point, this is more a clarification than a problem I saw in some of the answers. And that is, what is a religious war? A religious war is where a religious leader calls for a war and secular people respond to that call. The most obvious example in Western history is in 1095, the Pope, a fellow named Urban II, preached a crusade to liberate the Holy Land from the Muslims. And so kings and knights all over Europe gathered together at that call and set off on a war. That's a religious war, a religion calling for a war for religious purposes. It is not a religious war where a king or a secular government uses religion to promote its goals, which is what you see in the so-called wars of religion after the Protestant Reformation. They are primarily political wars, where local rulers have nationalized religion and are using religion as a kind of mind game to control people. They may actually believe the religion, but they are also cynically using it to promote political and diplomatic causes. Okay, I want to talk just a little bit about Unit 5 that's just ending now. Here we're looking at how reform spreads to Catholicism. And how society begins to become rationalized with the Renaissance and the Enlightenment. In this period, each nation controls religion within the nation, even in Catholic countries. For example, Spain and France, the king controls religion within the borders of their country. They don't mess about too much with theology, but in practical terms about taxes and laws and that, they control religion inside their companies. What else do I want to say? At this point, you see the beginnings of religion being separated from society, not from the state yet, but from society. And people are forced to attend particular churches within national boundaries, but you see the beginnings of this separation here. Okay, that's all I wanted to say for today. Have a good week off.